part of the reason I wanted to talk about the patois and the development of French language in the previous video is that I wanted to get to this more nuts and bolts topic about dictionaries and the dictionaries that will depend on the most. And what I want to do is first just run through the classic print dictionaries, many of which are now, or some of which at least, are now available online in one form or another. The best ones all are, and then have a look at some of the online versions. So obviously, Petit Robert, very short dictionary, very modern, but it can be helpful just for looking through, but to get ideas. But mostly, I'm going to show articles on the same word, on chandeleur, or the same alphabetical section, and so I just wanted to provide that for context. So you get five lines on the chandeleur, which is the February 2nd Candlemas in English. Grand Robert, of course, you're going to get a little bit more, but still, it's really not a lot more than you get in the Petit Robert. It's really focused on modern French. So great dictionary, but not particularly useful to us for paleography. And then we have Trésor de la langue française. This is the dictionary on which the Trésor de la langue française informatisée is based on. So there's an online version of this now. And one of the things that's just changed so much since I started giving the paleography workshop is how many dictionaries are online and how good they are. So you can see here we're already getting to a much better, fuller notice than in Robert, and getting to be kind of more useful for people doing earlier periods. But still relatively limited, still based primarily on a 19th century and 18th century corpus of texts. Littré is the great 19th century dictionary. It's often quite good, and every once in a while you'll find something in Littré that you don't find elsewhere. But not there's chandeleur. So you can see it's got a pretty good, on a par with the Trésor de la langue française. So then we start getting to the really serious dictionaries, and Godefroy traditionally is the best dictionary for manuscript work. It's been superseded some by the Dictionnaire de moyen français that we've already worked with, but which includes most of Godefroy. But Godefroy is built on a really broad set of texts, and it draws on manuscripts and print, on diplomatic documents and notarial documents, all sorts of things. It's a broad corpus, and it does a great job at getting to a lot of terms of popular culture and specialized terms for agriculture and things like that. So in the print world, it's really the best starting point, and it is, as I say, available online now as well. So you can see there we get to the chandelier, so it starts to give you different spellings, and that's just critical for our work, because it's quite often that chandeleur is not going to be spelled as we expect. It could be chandelier, and you see all the variations in Godefroy, and usually in Godefroy these variations have renvoi, cross references one to the other. So usually my first choice dictionary. And you can see we get chandelier, and we'll get some, let's Let's see if we have Chandelos. I guess not. So, very good. If things get really rough and you really need to find something that's hard to find, the Französische Etymologische Wörterbuch, usually known as von Wartburg for its original editor, is an unbelievable resource. It's 25 volumes, making it one of the biggest dictionaries out there, and it collects from a massive corpus of texts, and has a lot of regional terms, and a lot of terms that come out of the local patois and so on. So but the problem with it is that it is arranged alphabetically by etymon, so by the root word, and so the first 14 volumes or so are words based on Latin and I guess traditional sort of native to France words, Gaulish origins, and then 15 forward are Germanic, and then you get words that are taken from other languages, and so it's quite hard to navigate. But fortunately, just recently it's gone online, and that makes it much easier. Traditionally, what you had to do was find the word you're looking for in the index, which was volume by volume, no comprehensive index, and then look it up in the actual text. So if you wanted to find something about a chandelle, you would look under candela or candela. So very cumbersome, but just incredible detail. Let's see. And just all sorts of things from regional terms and so on. And so there's candela, and I think I don't know if we have chandeleur in there. Probably. Yep, there we go, right there. So you can see chandelouse, which is a spelling you see a lot. Chandelouse, like that. Notice that was not in Godefroy, not in the Trésor de la langue française, but here it is in von Wartburg. So can be quite useful for odd spellings, and even if you perhaps found it beginning with a T, you would be able to find it in von Wartburg with enough effort. Tobler-Lommach is Old French, Altfranzösische, not quite as definitely not as detailed as Godefroy, but it is a little bit more modern and done to a little bit higher standard. So it's a good place to look especially if you're working with an older text. And you can see what was a page in the Petit Robert. We're now looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages, and you'll see we have the chandeleur, and probably other spellings as well. Chandeleur. So we have both both of them. Excuse me. And most words that are in Godefroy or in, I think REW is the Renoir dictionary. Next one that most people who work in the 16th century know, Huguet. It's a great dictionary if you're working on literary texts, Montaigne, Rabelais, like that. But it has a very, very narrow corpus that it draws from, and it is very literary, so did not work with manuscripts basically at all. did not work with really any many works at all outside of a high literary tradition. So it's terrific, but very limited. And let's see, you can see we don't even have Chandeleur in here, because it's surprisingly, I would expect it, at least in some high culture books, but apparently not. One of the most important feasts. This is the let's see, this is the Nico dictionary, I think. So it's 1620-21. So this is, I believe, Nico. Not sure actually, but if it's Nico, that's online as well. Just a period dictionary. There's a handful of period dictionaries, but the Jean Nico and Robert Astienne are the two most common, and sometimes you'll find things there. Now, if you're working in the south of France, you're going to need dictionaries in Provençal, and my go-to dictionary for the south of France is Mistral, Le Trésor du Félibrige. Félibrige was a group of poets in the 19th century who were trying to revive Provençal, and Mistral created a great dictionary. It's not huge; it's only 2 volumes, but quite useful. So probably a first place to look if you're doing Provençal. And as you can see, now we're really in a different language. We do have. We don't have anything that's. We do have Chandelière, but that refers to a river, and then a lot of renvoi, but it's Provençal, so we don't have Chandeleur at all. I don't actually know what the word for Chandeleur is in Provençal. And then just, there are some other dictionaries. Oops, the screen keeps winking out, but Français Provençal. So that's if you are working in Provençal and you want to go the other direction. You think it has to do with Chandeleur, but you don't know. So you look in here and you get the Provençal word, Candelou or Candeluso. Just more of Achard. And same thing, Lévy is, there's a large dictionary which is available online, I think, Renouard, which is an early 19th century. It's the only comprehensive attempt at a Provençal dictionary ever, though there's a current project. But it's done to a relatively low standard by modern standards, and Lévy is a kind of an expansion and correction. This is the Petit Dictionnaire, but there is a larger Lévy that's, I think, about 8 volumes. But the Petit Dictionnaire is a fairly handy word list in and of itself. And now we get to the Glossaire des patois de la Suisse romande. I highlight this not just because it is Swiss, but because it is also just a phenomenal dictionary. You can see we're 3 volumes in and we're only up to CH. I think it's at 11 volumes and it's up to H now, something like that. And just as of 2018, this was put online. So incredible resource that this is now online. Screen. So this one, when we get to Chandeleur, you'll see it is going to be quite impressive. So Chandeleur is short, actually, because that's the French version. But then we get to Chandeleuse, which is Tsondaloza is the patois, and now we get an article that's not 5 lines like in the Petit Robert, but it's a little bit of 1 page, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, full pages, basically. And it tells you, and it's just incredible, even if you're not working in Switzerland, it just gives you so much, a lot of terms on agriculture and folklore and so on. You can see there's a whole section on folklore, and actually an interesting little thing. Let's see, I don't know if people are aware, if you think of the date, so it's Chandeleur is the feast of the presentation of Christ. It's the Virgin Mary going to the synagogue for the first time after birth. So it takes place on February 2nd. If you're American, at least, you'll recognize February 2nd as a minor holiday here, which we call it Groundhog Day, and it's used to predict what the rest of the winter will be like. And indeed, that is exactly what it was for what it was in the back to the Middle Ages with the Chandeleur. So it's à la Chandeleur, l'hiver se passe ou prend rigueur. So on February 2nd, winter either shows itself to be either passes or gains strength. So it's basically Groundhog Day. And there are a bunch of other dictionaries of patois. So you've got this one is for Neuchâtelois. It has the advantage of actually going all the way through the end of the alphabet, unlike the Glossaire des Patois de la Suisse romande. There are also others for Geneva that are single volume, that are from the 19th century. A nice one for La Savoie. There we have Chandeleuse as well. Brief entry, nothing like the one in the Glossaire des Patois de la Suisse romande. So, this is for Lyonnais, Forêt, and Beaujolais. This one I just pull out because it's got bien-être, which is something that I did not know. It's something that I will not find in many dictionaries, but it means bien-heureux. I came across it in a document where people were toasting to a marriage, and I had to look it up in one of these dictionaries of patois, even though it's a French document, of course. Patois normand, if you're working in the north. Patois vaudois for parts of Switzerland and France. Patois Picard, if you're working in Calvin's hometown, and so on. And then a couple of special dictionaries. There's a Dictionary of French Rhymes. Why would you use this? Well, if you know how the word ends, you can look it up by the ending, and this dictionary is by the ending spelling. So it's going to just be the last words working backwards. This one by Douglas Walker, Dictionnaire inverse de l'Ancien Français, is phonetic. So it is not strictly alphabetical in reverse, but is phonetic. So you have, I don't know if you can see that, but you've got all the C-L-O-S-E words and then the E-L-O-S-E words and so on. But again, this one is phonetic, not orthographic. This is same name, Dictionnaire inverse de la langue française, but it's actually no, I'm sorry. This is the one that's phonetic. This is the one that is phonetic and based on phonetic. So Douglas Walker is just a newer version of the old rhyming dictionary, sort of, and it's strictly orthographic. And Juillon is the one that is in phonetic order. So I don't see anything that jumps out that's out of alphabetical order, but anyway, but you might find some. So if you know you guess how it sounds, you can look it up from the word ending. And then this lexique français moderne ancien français is, if you from context you understand what word you're looking for, what the meaning is, this is a chance to actually just look it up. So you're looking for chaleur d'action, it's a chauffoisson, etc. Chambellan, it could be a chamberier. And so that's kind of a rundown of some useful print dictionaries. And just to show you, there's the equivalents often in French. So there's the Dictionnaire de moyen français, really just the best of the best. It's one that we have already looked at. Let's do a search, and it's great because you go to the article. The articles are extremely detailed. They have a lot of examples, many different spellings, and they have links to the online versions of Tobler-Lomach, which we've just looked at, the Godefroy Complement, and the Anglo-Norman Dictionary, and von Wartburg, as well as the Trésor de la langue française. They're all right there handy for you. If you can find the word here, it'll take you to those other dictionaries. You may not be able to find it here and may have to start with those dictionaries, but it's still just a terrific resource. The best dictionary by far these days for our work. One thing I didn't mention about Godefroy, I'll wait till I get there. But so that's that one. The Trésor de la langue française. This is the just a standard French dictionary. It's a great starting point, but it's essentially modern French. This is the von Wartburg, the Französische Etymologische Wörterbuch, and it allows searching with regular expressions, which we've talked about for the DMF, which is just makes this so much easier since compared to trying to use the print version. It really makes it a usable tool. It used to be an absolute last resort for me, but now this is a dictionary you can just go to and search, and it will search all the available volumes. It's quite amazing. Tobler-Lomach, a little bit less amazing. It's still kind of in a demo state with an uncorrected OCR version, but it's not bad, useful. Mistral for Provençal. This is available with a decent online interface. So again, you don't really need the print version. It's quite usable. The lexique roman, we'll come back to that. Dictionnaire de l'Occitan médiéval. This is a relatively new dictionary. It's actually an old dictionary. It's new online. I think they started it in something like 1917 or something like that. But it's quite a good dictionary if you need to do, the language of the troubadours or medieval work from the south of France. It's an update of Lévy and Renoir. Very good. Anglo-Norman Dictionary, you might think, we're not in Norman England, but it's quite useful. And in fact, I'll just say, if you looked in the chat, I had a discussion with Rebecca about about a word in the document, and of all the dictionaries, this one had the form that I would call the closest to the document. So in the Pierre de Pierre document, so it's here we have a dictionary that's from Anglo-Norman French, and yet can be useful even for an area that's Franco-Provençal. Nico, I mentioned. I don't know what the 1621 dictionary I had was. Maybe a more recent version, but occasionally useful. It's a period dictionary. Always helpful to get definitions from the period itself. Robert Estienne is one of the earliest, maybe, it's one of the earliest really quality dictionaries for the French language, but to be quite honest, I rarely find it particularly useful. It's not particularly extensive, so I tend to go for Nico by choice, or possibly even the first edition of the Académie Française dictionary from, I think it's 1694 or so. Oh, my computer is not liking this. Okay. Côte Grave, an interesting dictionary, but particularly for translators. It's a French-English dictionary from 1611. It has a lot of proverbs in it, so it can be helpful even. It's something that even French people will use, not without its uses. And a good thing to know if you're doing translation. Glossaire des patois de la Suisse romande, again, it just unfortunately only goes up through H right now, but it is just, if you find your word in there, it's going to be probably one of the most complete articles on that word that you will find in any dictionary or encyclopedia, including, and for things that are really difficult to understand from a dictionary, like agricultural terms, it'll often have illustrations. So it can be terrifically helpful that way, just to see. They sent an illustrator around when they were collecting information, and the person did 2,000 or 3,000 drawings based on interviews with les paysans. So, again, just an unbelievable resource. And then finally, the Lexique Roman, which is often called Renoir. It's medieval Occitan, and pretty useful. And then finally, you've seen, we've looked a couple times at collections that are in this Dic Fro, and it's got quite a collection of dictionaries. I've gone over all the ones that I find the most useful. You have Littré, it has an interface to the Dictionnaire de moyen français. Proverbs, that's a government thing, that's a supplement to the Côte Grave one. TLFE. And then you have Chrétien de Troyes, which is a lexicon based on his work, but the most useful ones are still Godefroy. And I meant to say Godefroy has a dictionary and a complément. And the difference is that the dictionnaire is medieval terms that are no longer used as a general rule, and the complément are words that are still part of the French language, but with illustrations of their Old French usage. So you always have to look in the dictionnaire and the complément anytime you're looking for something in Godefroy. And Godefroy has a lot of cross-references, but when you use it, I think volumes 1 through 6 or something, or 1 through 5 or 6 are in the dictionnaire, and the 7 through 10 are the complément, something like that. La Courne Saint-Palais, that's one that's on the paleography resources. Very multi-volume dictionary that's not bad, but not particularly useful. And then finally, I didn't mention, but Ducange. Ducange is, of course, the incredible dictionary of medieval Latin, but also has a volume on French that can be fairly useful. And other than specific dictionaries on technical areas like medical dictionaries and some things like that, which I have I have a few examples in the paleography resources, and so specialized dictionaries and dictionaries of patois. That's probably all the dictionaries you are likely to need for a